Yo, what's going on, y'all?
What's happening, everybody?
Welcome to week 13.
2 weeks before the fantasy playoffs for most leagues. In the event, I actually literally just thought of this just because I said it just now. As we all know, there are now 18 games on the schedule as of last year, not 17. So in the event that your commissioner is behind the times, hopefully your playoffs start in 2 weeks, not next week, because there are week 14 bye weeks.
Yep.
And nobody should be dealing with that during a playoff week. So,
no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not an issue for anybody. But hopefully we got some wins this week.
The teams that are on bye, I believe it's the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. So
yes.
Yep.
Yes. So no Kyler Murray, no James Conner, no Donta Foreman, no DeAndre Hopkins, no DJ Moore, no king of elevating DJ Moore, Sam Darnold. Yeah. So you already know.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, that early season 2021 Sam Darnold, DJ Moore narrative looked like it panned out.
Doing what he does best, right?
Running for
DJ
touchdowns.
Moore, and he's the biggest touchdown vulturer in the league. All is right in the world.
Yeah, at least for the next 4 games. Then we'll see.
Yeah, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, I mean, by then their season's over and it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody won their matchups over the weekend, or at least are still in the hunt.
I forget who it was, but we told somebody to start Zay Jones.
One person. We told one person to start Zay Jones,
we told
and
somebody to start Zay
Jones.
That worked out.
Hopefully they did it. We don't know if they did.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I can sleep easy on that one as far as the recommendation.
Yeah, we had a few misses last week, or at least I was an advocate for some people starting Kamara over some other people.
I didn't love Kamara this past week. I couldn't have predicted the Saints getting completely shut out and shut down, but yeah, for that.
I mean, I thought he had at least Kamara. Like a 7-8 reception floor, and he didn't even have that.
Nope. That Saints offense is booty.
Yeah.
They're not very good. Greg Dulcich had a touchdown, but it was called back on a penalty, so I think he was a miss for the day.
Yeah, he was.
But the process was there. He had a touchdown. He caught the ball in the end zone. It was called back due to penalty.
One of the two touchdowns that would have been like how many isn't there there's something where Carson Wentz still has more touchdown throws than Russell Wilson, and Carson Wentz was
makes sense.
Hasn't played for like 5-6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, that it keeps getting worse in Denver, and I really almost even don't know what to say about that offense. But it's the lowest scoring offense in the league, and for fantasy purposes, really you don't want any part of that offense with the exception of Dulcich, to me.
Latavius Murray is doing fine. I think he had around 80 rushing yards or something like to that effect.
Yeah, but if you're getting 80 rushing yards and no touchdown, and you're not getting the receptions that we thought he was going to get, because if you look at his box score last week, he didn't have the receptions the reception floor that we thought. We thought he was going to have 4 to 5 receptions.
92. 13 carries, 92 yards, 1 catch for 6 yards. So we nearly totaled 100 yards from scrimmage. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Like, you live with that if you started him.
Get you around 10 and a half points in PPR. You're all right with that. But I mean,
but that's about it.
We were projecting more.
Yeah.
We were.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, anyway, that's... I think he's still viable, no doubt. But, yeah, this Denver offense is one to attack. So, if you've got the Baltimore Ravens defense, you know what you have to do this week.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, are there any other narratives coming? I mean, we got a Najee injury. We got a Michael Carter injury.
Right.
Bunch of injuries
James
to running
Robinson
backs.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, as it pertains to waiver ads this week, I feel like this week is kind of blah. Like, there's nobody where I'm like, go, run, don't walk to the waiver wire to grab that guy.
Everybody should have been picked up last week that you should be picking up this week. Like, Treylon Burks probably picked up last week.
Rostered.
DPJ was picked up a few weeks ago. Zay Jones is the only one, and even him, is it a 1 week wonder, and does he go back to nothing? And that's something we'll examine later on. But I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say Bam Knight, like, I guess is the running back that you maybe want to take a look at. James Robinson, Zonovan Knight, James Robinson, healthy scratch. Now Michael Carter has an injury that forced him from the game in the second half. His status is obviously up in the air as of right now. So, yeah, I mean, Zonovan Knight is probably the running back this week. That's worth grabbing.
Interesting that he was elevated over James Robinson, but, I mean, you can't say they made the wrong decision there because look at what Zonovan Knight did.
They like what he brings. He's physical. He brings some punch to that backfield, and I guess they felt like James Robinson wasn't quite giving them what they had hoped for when they traded for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the proof is in the transactions. They elevated him and healthy scratched J-Rob. So,
speaking of the Jets, man, Mike White.
There's a narrative. Holy hell! Rest in peace, Zach Wilson.
Yeah, you can't go back to Zach Wilson. You can't go back to Joe Flacco after this.
Well, you were never going. Well, I guess you were never going back to Flacco, but. Or
you could have. If Mike White fell flat on his face and you had no confidence in Zach Wilson, you would have gone back to Joe Flacco. But yeah, it's Mike White season from here on out, and there's a good possibility, at least I believe, that if he has a good showing over the next few games, that he goes into next year as the de facto starter.
Yep.
Yeah, they might draft somebody late, but still, I mean, Mike White, 300-yard game. Unlocked Garrett Wilson, finally unlocked a little bit of Elijah Moore. He's caught a touchdown on, I think, two catches, something like 60 yards.
2 catches, right.
And a touchdown.
So he's a guy on the, like, he's surely been dropped in most leagues. You can take a look at him too.
Yep.
If you could use a wide receiver. Don't know that this is going to continue. Like, I'm not sure that Mike White is probably the guy rest of season. I don't know that Zach Wilson isn't the week 1 starter for the Jets next year just because of the investment they made in him. But boy, we got a real conversation about this, not just for the rest of this year, but especially if Mike White ends up getting the Jets into the playoffs. That's going to be a fun little conversation to be had.
Yeah, I mean,
in East Rutherford.
Is Zach Wilson the next Josh Rosen? Well, we don't know. Right now.
I don't know about that. He should probably. I would think he's the favorite to start Week 1, 2023, still as of today. But I mean, those are probably kind of some. Those are.
It's all up in the air.
Those are. Yeah, that is a huge question mark at the moment.
Yep.
We'll see. But yeah, Jets look good. It was against the Bears, but it was also in the rain. So it's difficult situation to have to be. To perform in, and look, Mike White came through.
The Jets offense hasn't looked that good since Joe Flacco was throwing 60 times a game.
Since it was Flacco, yeah.
So, I mean, you got to go back to that guy.
Absolutely.
You got to go back to Mike White.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I think there's a good chance that he is got a shot to be the starter next season. Over Zach Wilson. I know he's got the draft capital, but I mean, look at what the guy had a better game than Zach Wilson, I think, ever has. And that's not the first time he's done this. He did the same thing last year. He looked way better than Zach Wilson did last year when he came in, and then he got injured, right? Last season, and then Joe Flacco played a game. And then they put Wilson back in once he was healthy.
Yeah, it might have been something like Wilson got hurt, White went in, he might have missed a game, then he might have gotten hurt. then yeah, maybe Flacco got in there for a game, or maybe whoever, if they had a different QB3 at the time, whose name I might be.
No, Flacco went in for one game, and then I think Zach Wilson was back to
and then and then Wilson came in to finish out the string for the Jets last year. Yeah, interesting quarterback development for the Jets right now, so that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
But we got some questions in the chat piling up, and I think that was the last piece of big news to come out of this past week, outside of maybe Najee getting banged up, but we don't have any word on him.
Nothing yet. Abdomen injury, left the game early last night. Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland both looked decent with the opportunities that they got.
Benny Snell, 60-something yards and a touchdown, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have McFarland's final numbers in front of me. Those are relatively easy to pull up, but he looked all right too. I want to get this. 41 yards from scrimmage on 6 carries, 30 yards. That's 5 a touch and two catches for 11 yards. So yeah, he looked good on limited work. 8 touches, 41 yards. That's 5 yards a touch. That's good. That's good. That's good production. So yeah,
yet another kind of floor game for Deontay Johnson too, man. Don't know what's going on there.
A touchdown. Deontay is the clubhouse leader for fantasy points missed out on this year. Whether it's poor quarterback play or, again, you can't pick it through a great ball to him in the end zone. And while, yes, he had a defender on him, but he had his hands on it and he just dropped. The defender didn't do anything to break it up. He just dropped it. So, I mean, sometimes when it rains, it pours, man. And this is just not Deontay's year. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. I will be drafting him in the 8th round next year over and over again because then it'll be worth it. But this is not the year for Deontay.
And if any of you guys are playing Dynasty out there, I think he is still only 26 years old, so go out and make a trade for him.
Sure.
He will have better days ahead. But
if somebody's fed up, if somebody's worried about Pickett or George Pickens, who continues to look good, sure. Dangle an offer out there. You might be able to get him for, I don't know, a couple of second rounders.
Yeah. Pennies on the dollar at least, based off of what his true talent really is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I stand by what I think about him, which is he's a very strong building block moving forward. Very strong.
Yep.
But not this year.
But let's get into this chat here. What's going on? Xavier was bragging.
Let's do that.
JP was good.
We're already getting hit with bots.
Always. And what are your top waiver ads this week? We already went over it. My number one would be Zonovan Knight.
Yeah, I mean, depends on who's out there. Did Kyron Williams get scooped up yet? I'm curious to who's available. If not, grab him. Elijah Moore, Zay Jones, Zonovan Knight.
Nico Collins, if he's still out there, because he had another heavily targeted game.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. So whoever, Xavier, list who are the top running backs, who are the top receivers, and then what are your specific needs. But in a vacuum, in competitive leagues, Bam Knight is definitely out there. Zonovan Bam Knight is out there. He's worth a look. I'll stick with the Jets. Elijah Moore was surely dropped in most leagues. He's worth a look. Zay Jones, worth a look. He's not going to replicate those numbers every single week, but it was good to see him do his thing out there.
Yep.
Those are some guys. And hey, if you're desperate at tight end, your boy last night,
Jelani Woods, man, yeah,
8 catches, 98 yards, or something like
career
that,
day.
something along those lines.
Career day.
Yeah,
took that job away from Mo Alley Cox. So there you go.
I don't know that Mo Alley Cox ever had it to begin with. One other thing. Sorry, one other talking point that also kind of answers Xavier's question: the San Francisco backfield. Elijah Mitchell going back on IR, unfortunately, expected to miss another 6 to 8 weeks. That clearly makes him, a return for the NFL playoffs only. His season is over as it pertains to fantasy. So Jordan Mason got in there. You said Tevin Coleman is potentially looking at
the report
a promotion.
The report was today that Tevin Coleman should be more involved moving forward now in place of Elijah Mitchell. So
yeah, and I think Christian McCaffrey doesn't have an injury designation at the moment, but I think he got banged up in that
knee
game
soreness
as well.
is what I saw.
Yeah. So I mean, Jordan Mason looked decent with a couple of he only had a couple of opportunities. 5 for 25. So yeah, again, averaging 5 yards a carry. So he's worth a look.
You want a piece of the run game there.
Tevin Coleman,
you want a piece of the run game there. That's the main takeaway. It really doesn't matter to me what they did last week. If there is somebody who's not going to be playing and they're elevating other running backs, you want at least one half of that backfield.
Yeah. And then one other name to note, Michael Gallup on Thanksgiving had 5 catches for 63 yards on 8 targets. Pretty solid, right? I think he's getting healthy. Easy to forget. Michael Gallup looked like a top 30 receiver in the league at times prior to the injury last year. So he's worth a look. Some tough matchups on the slate coming up. But
what worries me
the Cowboys
with him
have
is
a solid playoff schedule for fantasy.
If you are looking forward to the playoffs, Odell is rumored to be going to the Dallas Cowboys. So if that happens, then Gallup loses a lot of his late season viability. But if he's on your wire, he's a good speculative add, just in case he goes to some other team.
Yeah, or if he's just not quite in game shape.
Yep, true.
Not quite ready. So yeah, those are some names. I wouldn't be running to the wire for JaMychal Hasty. It was reported that Travis Etienne was cleared to return, but the Jags, out of an abundance of caution, held him out.
And Darrell Henderson is waiting in the wings right there, too.
Right. And I guess as far as, like, the Steelers situation in the backfield, yes, Benny Snell looked good. Yes, Anthony McFarland looked good, but we also have to remember Jaylen Warren missed the game as well. So that might become a hodgepodge situation to avoid if Najee can't go this week. I don't know if it's going to be a committee between Warren and Snell, or McFarland mixes in, or if Warren's going to get 50% of the snaps and touches, or if Snell is a touchdown vulture. That just might be a gross situation to avoid.
Yep, I would agree. I
think now we can continue on with the questions. Just wanted to get into it a little bit about San Francisco, and then a couple of other last minute names.
Yeah, JP, you're saying you're going to hold off on playing Deshaun Watson over Brady until next week.
Yeah,
I think that would be smart.
Let's wait a week. The Texans are surprisingly, they're not a great matchup by the numbers for the passing game, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you can run all over them, and Cleveland's got Nick Chubb. So I am absolutely... Yeah, it's a revenge game for Deshaun Watson. So you know how, if you guys have listened to me at all, you maybe have heard how much I like that narrative.
But it's a weird game for him with everything
First
involved.
Back in 18 months.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him sit on my bench for a week before I'm willing to trust him, because I know you don't really take this into account, but in the limited work that we saw him get in the preseason, he looked very rusty.
Sure. Yeah, I don't take that much into account, but I will take the first game back in basically nearly 2 years. That I take into account.
And I don't put much stock in it, but I do at least factor that into my I'm going to wait a week reasoning. So
yeah,
solid there, JP. And yeah, I mean, if those guys are available, I mean, A.J. Dillon had a touchdown last week, looked very good last week. Brian Robinson looks like he has the role over Antonio Gibson right now. He was running the ball over 100 yards, also scored the touchdown through the air on 2 receptions. Mm-hmm. Usually that, game. Yeah. So, I mean,
had a great game. The rain might have contributed to that a little bit. Like the bad weather might have contributed to Robinson getting utilized a little bit more than Gibson.
Yep.
I would say that backfield becomes a little more clear if Robinson does that when the conditions are not in favor of just plodding along with running the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not to take anything away from Robinson. He had a great game. but I will, I'll write off Gibson when I see Robinson do that.
Oh, no, I wasn't writing him
Not in
off.
the
I was
range.
just giving him credit because we hadn't brought him up yet on the day, and he did have a good day last week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong with either of those guys in terms of ranking them.
Sure.
I mean, AJ Dillon and Brian Robinson might have a little bit more late season viability, whereas Zonovan Knight, I mean, that backfield is muddied. But at least for next week, Zonovan Knight looks like a good pickup. How long is Michael Carter supposed to be out?
It's hang on. Let me see what was the most recent update with Michael Carter? Low ankle sprain. So not a high ankle sprain. So that's a better diagnosis. That being said, I would expect he doesn't play this week. Yeah. But it's possible. You can't rule it out. If it was a high ankle sprain, you could rule him out, like today. It's a low ankle sprain, so it's not as severe.
No, they just signed Jonathan Ward from the Cardinals practice squad, so I think that move kind of to me signifies they're not going to be playing him this week. He's not coming back this week. Even though it is a low ankle sprain, he's not coming back this week.
Even if he was fine, Zonovan Knight is, if your running back waiver wire is thin, Zonovan Knight is worth the ad because he appears to have taken James Robinson's job at the very least.
Yep. Camera back, got the replacement in, and we're ready to roll.
We back up and running.
Yo, what's going on, Fortune? Thoughts on Christian Watson versus Deontay and DJ Moore rest of season?
He's over Deontay. I mean, there are a lot of receivers that are over Deontay rest of season.
And I mean, Christian Watson, you look at the box score, you're happy with that. The touchdown came with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
But Lazard didn't have himself a great game. Right. Right. But I mean, but Lazard wasn't having like a great game or anything. We were speculating that he was going to have at least, 8 targets or something like that, considering he had 10 and 11 targets 2 times in the last three weeks. But I think he got 2 receptions for like 26 yards.
Lazard, he had a very quiet game. Yeah.
No, I mean, Christian Watson, I think he's a low end wide receiver too at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I have him ahead of Deontay. But I do think the track record between Sam Darnold and DJ Moore leads me to believe, even though it was only on 4 catches, 100 yards, touchdown for Moore, I got to put Moore ahead of Christian Watson.
That's fair.
Especially since Aaron Rodgers keeps getting injuries. Now he's got a rib thing, has the thumb thing, so slight downgrade again to that offense. But yeah, Moore, Christian Watson, Deontay.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, as long as Sam Darnold is in, you feel a little bit better about DJ Moore. But damn, Christian Watson. I don't know that I think you have to find a way to get him into your lineup officially moving forward.
Huge touchdown upside. Yep.
Yeah, he's faster than everybody else on the field.
Yeah, and that was always the thing for him. Athletic freak, but can he put it together at the NFL level in terms of all the other things you need to do to be able to be a wide receiver? And he's doing that. He showed it for 3 weeks now, so you got to trust him.
Yep. You have no choice at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yep. Get him in there.
And JP,
get him in there in favor of Deontay.
JP, how do you guys feel about CMC in general?
It's a little concerning.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. His usage a little concerning. The knee thing now a little concerning.
Why would you trade the pick haul that you did if you're San Francisco if you're going to make him a part-time player? I don't get that. You gave up a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick. They gave up some other draft capital for him as well. Like, now, okay, if he's hurt, then he's hurt. Fine. But going into the game, I don't like, as far as we know, McCaffrey didn't have an injury designation at all this week. So, like, prior to the injury, what are you doing? What were you doing? Mitchell was getting in there a ton.
Yeah, and you don't normally see load management in the NFL. Maybe that's what they're doing for the playoff push, and then they'll unleash him there because, I mean, they have that luxury.
Sure.
Especially when they're blowing out the Saints. So, I don't know, but
That was insane. They won 13-0. I mean, they dominated them, maybe not in the box score, but the score was always within 2 throughout the game. Like, I mean, yes, again, you could be load managing him if he's legitimately hurt in that game. But again, going in, he didn't have an injury designation, and he was still being deployed as a part of a platoon. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
No, you know the upside that comes with Christian McCaffrey, but he is not a top 3 option anymore. He's more like a top 8 option. Mm-hmm. And you still got to treat him like a top 8 option because it is Christian McCaffrey, but he's not up there with Eckler and Chubb and now Josh Jacobs and stuff like that. He's just not. He's not getting the usage.
Freaking Jacobs, by the way.
Yeah, dude, having himself a year.
The
game was insane that last game, but he is having himself a year.
300 total yards. The Raiders are dumb. They declined his 5th-year option, and now you're probably going to have to pay him 10 times, maybe not 10, sorry, at least like probably 5 times what you've had, 5 times what you would have paid him if you had just picked up his 5th-year option. The Raiders are dumb.
And he's
sorry
really bad.
To any Raiders fans.
I mean, I know Waller's been great over the past few seasons, but Josh Jacobs has been the engine for your entire offense over the last 4 years.
Dude is freaking killing it. I'm happy for him. He's now going to get paid. They declined his option, and he has showed up and put up a top 5 running back season to this point.
Behind a bad O-line. That has to be factored in too. Behind a bad O-line, we've seen a lot of running backs struggle behind bad O-lines. He isn't one of them. So all the more props to him, man. Josh Jacobs isn't having himself a year.
Josh Jacobs getting himself paid.
If you got him in the 7th, 8th, 6th round, something like that, because he did fall in drafts this year in the offseason, you're probably feeling real good about your chances.
Yeah.
But CMC, I'm concerned.
Yeah,
but he's still a low-end RB1.
Still a low-end RB1. And Elijah Mitchell, assuming he's healthy, which I guess we can't necessarily do, but assuming McCaffrey's healthy, he's a low-end RB1. Maybe his floor gets a bit of a boost now that Elijah Mitchell is out of the picture, but it appears to be that the 49ers, regardless of personnel, want to continue to mix multiple guys in.
Yep. And D. Linney, can we trust Kamara versus Tampa this week? 29 points in the last 4 weeks.
Might have. I mean, it depends on your. I think if
you don't have a better option, it's
probably have to. But it's not. You don't feel good. You don't feel good about it. It's not a good team. They're on the road. I worry about a team like them outside of the dome, outside of the dome in New Orleans. They're playing the division. The last year in Tampa Bay, for what it's worth, Taysom Hill. I remember this. Taysom Hill started that game. It was a fantasy playoff matchup, like week 15, and I think Kamara had like 4 points. Now, obviously, this year compared to last year is totally different. The Bucs were a legitimate team last year. They stink this year, but again, the Saints stink worse. So yeah, you are probably you have to temper expectations down to like RB2 level for Kamara this week.
Yeah,
on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean you got to place him as a high end RB2, but he is an RB2. He's not an RB1 anymore on the year. He'll give you those spike weeks, but he is prone to those down weeks that we're not used to from him. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And in terms of if Najee sits and Warren is healthy, you like him versus ATL? I mean,
yeah. I mean, maybe it depends on how healthy Warren is, and did Benny Snell make a case for himself getting more work, and Anthony McFarland. I might be. It's a juicy matchup for sure. The Falcons are a matchup for opposing running backs that will have you salivating. But if it's not Najee, and if Warren is, maybe good to go, but maybe it's not a 100% situation, that could be at least a two-headed committee that is difficult to trust.
The one thing that gives me pause with that is just Anthony McFarland and Snell weren't getting any work when it was Najee and Jaylen Warren was mixing in there, Everything was
Right.
pointing Jalen Warren's way. And the team knows what they have in Benny Snell. They know what they have in Anthony McFarland, and they clearly don't love those guys. Clearly. They have them on the team. They have them on the team for a reason, but they clearly they drafted Najee because they didn't believe in those guys. They elevated Jalen Warren ahead of those guys because they didn't believe in those guys.
I agree.
So if Warren is healthy, yeah, I like him versus ATL.
I agree, but they were put in they were in a situation previously where they didn't have to play those guys. Now, if Najee goes down, the narrative could change.
But if Warren is healthy, I'm willing to go.
Yeah, he might draw the start. He might draw the start and is probably the favorite as far as who you feel good about as far as delivering a fantasy performance worth considering for your starting lineup. I just think now we can't just dismiss what those guys did last night against the Colts.
Fair. I'm not going to dismiss Snell. I might dismiss McFarland.
That's fine. But I wouldn't go out of my way to be like Jalen Warren top 15 play this week. You know?
No, he's a high-end RB3. I'm not going to go crazy. You got to remember that the team that he's playing on has struggled mightily on offense. So yeah, but I mean, I still, if I'm looking for somebody to throw in my flex, and I need somebody because I had James Conner and Donta Foreman, and he's sitting on the wire, and he is healthy, I'm cool with it. And Claypool may be on waivers, and he becomes more interesting with Mooney out for the year. D. Linney, very true.
Yeah,
very true.
A little bit more wide receiver 3 viability.
Yep.
That's about as far as I'm willing to go. It's just still a tough, especially if Fields isn't healthy. But yeah, Claypool is now the de facto wide receiver 1. So,
or is it Kmet? We'll see. We'll see.
I guess it could be.
Could be. Iron, good to see you. What's going on, man?
What's up, Iron? What's happening?
And yeah, D. Linney, Elijah Moore's your top waiver wire wide receiver ad this week. Solid.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be fair, he is the guy of these available names. He is obviously the guy coming into the season that we had legitimate expectations for. Mm-hmm. So, sure. If he's available, yeah.
Yeah, he's the most talented of the guys that are probably on the wire.
Right, and he's most likely available.
Yep. KC Royals, good to see you, man.
What's up, KC?
Who should I start at QB this week? Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, or Tua?
Because you have those guys, you can certainly wait on Deshaun for a week. I mean,
Tua.
Yeah, it's Tua. I mean, you're talking about Tua has put himself in the conversation of one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
Comeback player of the year?
No question. Well, I guess that doesn't that most improved for sure. Comeback, yeah. I feel like usually gets reserved for somebody who comes back from injury and puts up a big performance. Although off the top of my head, I'm not sure who that would be. Who missed all of last year and has come back and killing it. Different conversation.
Yep.
I would say most improved, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm going with Tua. He's a high-end QB1 for the rest of the season.
Tough matchup on the road in San Francisco, but to that point, the game script is going to be in his favor all game long.
Yep.
Yeah, Tua.
And Iron, thanks to Najee coming back with his injury to make a TD, you won by 1 point. There you go, man.
There you go.
There you go.
I have seen the passing splits with and without Zach Wilson. The Jets are like near the top of the league when in passing yards per game when it's Flacco, and they're at the very bottom with Zach Wilson. So that tells you all you need to know about
I came into the year saying I do not believe in Zach Wilson, and look what happened.
Yep.
So, and D. Linney, Dulcich has been killing me, but you see his upside. Yeah, man. I think you got to continue to roll with him because, hey, look. He looks like a red zone weapon for him, and he's getting all the reps at tight end.
He caught a touchdown. It just was called back due to penalty.
Yep.
Like, it was there.
Comeback player of the year, Russell Wilson.
The go-away player of the year is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
An award for that.
Yeah. I mean, would you pivot to Conklin or Ingram? I think I would continue to roll with Dulcich.
I'd give Dulcich one more week, but But after that, yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit better about Conklin now with Mike White looking like he's playing playing competently for the Jets. But I'll go back to Dulcich for one more week.
Yep, I would too. And yeah, Jordan Mason got the start over TDP last week. I don't know what to say about TDP. Is that kind of just a lost pick at this point? I think so.
I won't go there yet.
You draft him in the third round, but Elijah Mitchell is there, and you have Christian McCaffrey now. Like, yeah, I think that's looking like, what's his role? You got Jordan Mason who's starting over him. What's his role? You're going to bring up Tevin Coleman, and it's room that Tevin Coleman's going to have a role over TDP? Like,
I think they just having 3 or 4 active guys. So he might be the 4th dude, but all it takes is if you are the RB2 in San Francisco, you are fantasy relevant.
Yeah, but if you're the RB4,
then you're not. But you're going to be active on game day.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has been a healthy scratch.
It's just TDP was people were relatively high on him, and I think
well, that was before the McCaffrey acquisition, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, even before the McCaffrey addition, he wasn't getting a ton of work.
He had one game where he got some opportunities, but I think he got hurt. That was week 2 or 3, but then he got hurt, and it was by the time he was healthy, I think that had been the point where they had traded for McCaffrey, and it was see you later.
Yeah. And Iron, would you spend all your fab on Zonovan Knight in Dynasty?
Sure.
Why not?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, if
who else are you going to spend it on?
Right. If he's the glaring name, then sure. Why not? Like John said, why not? It appears he took the job away from James Robinson.
Yeah. So you get him on your roster. Spend all your fab.
Yeah.
Spend all your fab. In Dynasty, who else is on the waiver that you're going to be picking up over the next few weeks that has a chance to start for you? Nobody. Use all your fab. Go and get him.
Yep.
George Cook, good to see you. Jamal Williams or Mike Evans this week in half PPR. Your 2 defenses options are the Packers or the Steelers. Jamal Williams or Mike Evans?
Man,
I mean,
the Lions are playing. I literally just looked at this. The Lions are playing Jacksonville at home. Oh my God, yeah, and Evans has to go up against Lattimore, which is
Jamal
always
Williams.
dicey.
Jamal Williams.
Is always dicey. The last time he played Lattimore, he got kicked out of the game and suspended for a week. Yeah. Seriously, those two, I don't know if name me 2 players who hate each other more than Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know that that exists
active
anywhere else.
In the NFL, yeah.
To that degree, I don't think that anything else exists. And it always causes issues. And you always run that risk. So yeah, Jamal Williams. I would feel very dicey about Mike Evans this week if I had to rely on him to give me a solid performance to help me get to the playoffs, or to help clinch a playoff spot, or to stay alive in the playoff race. You have to probably fire him up, but yeah, if you can swerve to Jamal Williams, I think I would do that. We have to keep that Marshawn Lattimore narrative in mind officially as it pertains to Mike Evans. And the fact that they're going up against each other this week makes me nervous about him.
Yeah, normally I want to throw those narratives out the window, but this is a real one.
Sure.
This is a real one.
It's different.
This is legit.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yep. Yeah. We've seen that come to fruition.
And Iron, yeah, nice game for Jelani. It was good to see.
Did his thing.
Caden, the Colts fan.
What's up, Caden?
Danny Dimes or Tua and Burks or Collins this week. Well, Tua. Easy.
Who do the Giants get this? Who are the Giants playing?
I don't know.
Let me look.
Check that out.
That's at home against Washington. Tough matchup.
Tua. It didn't really matter what the matchups were.
Tua's just
Danny
been better.
Jones, Tua.
Right. Tua's just been better, and he's not going to be able to sit out the fourth quarter this time around, going up against going up against San Francisco.
Yep.
Both have tougher matchups, but either way, I mean, Tua's been the better play with the much better weapons like Tua.
Well, hey, that was something that didn't come to fruition last week. Jeff Wilson. We thought Jeff Wilson was going to have a potential RB1 week, and he just did not.
He scored a touchdown, and then he got hurt. He came back into the game.
Myles Gaskin saw some work.
Well, by that point, the Dolphins pulled everybody. They were winning 30-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And so that was the issue. The Dolphins just blew the doors off on the Texans. Now, Wilson gave you something because he scored, but he picked up an injury, was able to go back into the game, but didn't need to get that much more work because the game was over in the third quarter. So it was game script just writing him out because it was a blowout.
Yep.
So what are you going to do, you know?
Yeah, it's just I was pointing out we were wrong about him last week, but...
Yeah, but I mean, I won't. Yeah, I'll still give us half a point for it because he did score, and you can never, like, yes, you can look at something on paper and look at a good team versus a bad team and expect that the good team to beat up on the bad team, but you can't ever sit here and make a call like the Dolphins will pull their starters by halfway through the third quarter. You know, can't operate that way. But as far as Burks or Collins, I'll go Burks. Treylon looks pretty good.
Yeah, he led the team in targets.
Got a little lucky.
He tied the team in targets. 6 targets, 70 yards.
Got a little lucky. He fell on a touchdown that Derrick Henry fumbled at the goal line. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Got a little lucky. Obviously, that's a once-a-season type of thing, if that. So,
but the fact is, he plays in a better offense, so those types of fluky plays that happen there would not happen for Collins because they're never in the red zone. So, I'm going Burks.
Yeah, I'll go Burks.
I like Collins because, again, 9 target pretty much every week. 9 targets. I like that. But Burks, trending
better
up.
Yeah, better. Probably a better player, better quarterback for sure. Better offense, better team. Bank on that type of stuff this time of year, especially.
And Fabian, you're 5-7, 3rd to 7th. All are 7-5.
Okay.
Do I stop stressing now? You lost by 4 points because the Saints couldn't score 1 point on the Niners defense. That sucks. I think you're always trying to win.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're mathematically eliminated.
Still trying to win every game, whether you're stressing or not. I mean, you're still trying to win every game.
Yeah. As far as a Steeler back, if it's not Najee, you're not playing any of them over those other names.
No, and even then, like I think even not Najee. Yes, he got a touchdown last week. 10 rushes on the ground for 30-something yards. His efficiency was outdone by every other running back that seemingly touched the ball for the Steelers, and then he got injured. I still think I would rather have ETN. I would rather have Mixon or Perrine. I'd rather have a Williams than Najee.
Yeah. I didn't realize Marshawn Lattimore was actually inactive for this past week against the 49ers, but he had returned to practice earlier in the week. So I'm not ruling out that he doesn't get up for this division game against Tampa, especially because even at 4-8, the Saints are not dead in the division race of the putrid NFC South. Wanted to call that out about Mike Evans.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call that out about Mike Evans.
And D-Linney, Tevin Coleman's just a favorite of that coaching staff, so he's going to be...
Yeah, they seem to like him.
He's just going to be rolled out there because he is a speedy guy, kind of a poor man's replacement for what Elijah Mitchell gives you.
Yeah, savvy vet.
And I don't know if Mason or TDP offer that at all. So they clearly like that speedster running back in there. It's part of their rotation. Bronson, would you trade Deshaun Watson for Mark Andrews? It's a 2 QB league, and you have Josh Allen and Burrow. Yeah, who's your tight end?
Sure. Who's your tight end, and who's an option to replace Watson as an emergency quarterback?
Is Mike White available? Did somebody pick him up already?
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, but let us know. But I would do that. I would do that, getting a top 2 tight end coming off of a bad week for a quarterback that is a question mark.
Yeah. If you can get a viable QB3 replacement, whether it's on the wire or as a dirt cheap throw-in option in the deal, then yes. Yes, I would do that.
Yeah, D. Lenny, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
if Jaylen Warren is healthy, he's a play as an RB3 for me.
Sure, but as an RB3, Snell's first snap was last week, but if Najee is out, Snell's going to get more snaps this week. Like, it's not going to be the Jaylen Warren show. Like,
no,
he's not going to get all the work. He's not. And I know that Pittsburgh has a history of giving all the work to one guy.
That's not how they play the game anymore.
Well, we haven't seen that play out this year. So I don't think a healthy Jaylen Warren and with let's say Najee's inactive, this week, Benny Snell's mixing it.
Yeah.
Benny Snell's mixing it.
But if Warren's healthy, I'm playing him if I need an RB.
Sure, he's a top 36 running back.
And yeah, Fabian CMC has a knee injury, a knee issue, not injury.
Yeah.
So we'll see how if news comes out, trickles out of the organization there over the course of the week. But it seems like he should be okay to play, but we can't say definitively. And T. Lenny with the stats, love to see it.
Yeah, no, they had a very a lot of guys got involved last night. I would expect something similar this week if Najee can't go.
And yeah, Love targeted Watson 4 to 5 times. You got to remember, Watson was probably spent a decent amount of time with with Jordan Love in
with
practice,
the second team,
right?
In training camp and all that stuff, yeah.
Right. So there's a connection there too, and even without that connection, Love just knows that Watson is the most talented physically guy out there. So he's just gonna hyper target him, and it worked out. It's been working out for Aaron Rodgers too. So keep rolling them out in your lineup as well.
There you go.
Yep.
Keep firing him up.
And yeah, I saw that report on NBC Sports Edge. Fabian Rodgers said that he's gonna gut it out, play through it.
He's gonna play against the Bears. He's gonna go into his Week 14 bye, and if the Packers are staring down a lost season after then we might see Jordan Love for the fantasy playoffs.
Yep.
Which doesn't mean, again, based on Sunday night, that's not a death sentence for Christian Watson.
No. And you don't put much stock into the preseason. He looked a lot better. Looked a lot better than he had in the past, and that's all I can say. That's all you want to see.
He looked competent Sunday night.
Yeah, he did against a good defense.
Yeah,
that was missing defense. A piece with Gardner Johnson out, but still.
Right. Yeah. But whatever. Still got to go in and make the throws.
Yep. And yeah, JP, Josh Jacobs, underrated as hell.
I'm happy for him. Me
too. Half PPR, start 2, Deontay, Jacoby, Palmer, Claypool. I'm not starting Deontay because he has no upside.
What's the status on Mike Williams? Is he expected to return?
We don't know yet.
Mike Williams, he's got the questionable tag. Ruled out Week 12. That's the last update. I mean, we already know Palmer's of that group. You're firing up Palmer if Mike Williams is out. And yeah, I would start Jacoby Myers. I think
me too.
New England has the Bills on Thursday night this week. Tough matchup, but I think that's a home game for New England. And you have to throw against Buffalo if you want to stay in the game. So Myers and Palmer tentatively. I would fire up Myers on Thursday night.
Myers is a must start for me out of these options here.
Sure. That's right. He left the game for a bit against the Vikings, but he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he's off the injury report going into the game, Myers. And then if Mike Williams is out, Palmer. If he's in, maybe still Palmer. Although I guess this would be the week for Deontay. Like this would be the last gasp of these options. I'm not talking about in a vacuum, but of these options, it could be a last gasp opportunity for Deontay because at least he's playing the Falcons in the dome. No weather conditions, and the Falcons are terrible against opposing wide receivers. So I guess I would say D. Linney, Jacoby for sure. If Mike Williams is out, Palmer. But if Mike Williams is in or expected to give it a go, I would do one last-ditch effort with Deontay because the matchup is almost as good as it gets.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are giving up the third most points to opposing wide receivers, 33.08.
That's the only reason. So yeah, let's see what the practice reports reveal this week for Mike Williams and go from there. But if he's on track to play, then yes, given the circumstances and these options, I would bump Deontay over Palmer and Claypool.
Yep. And in terms of, does Jaylen Warren have the size to be a workhorse back? I mean, 5'8", 207, not necessarily what you would, point to. But you look at his BMI, 81st percentile BMI, so he's got the build for it. He's just not necessarily a gigantic running back.
Yeah, he could probably handle, I mean, in a spot start, he could probably handle 17 touches or 15 to 17 touches.
Yeah.
In one spot start.
Look, I mean, Eckler's not large, and he's not. Yes, he's used all over the formation, but I mean, he's used in pretty much every down role, and he's 5'9". You look at Aaron Jones, he's 5'9". You look at Christian McCaffrey, well, he's 5'11". But yeah, no, I think he can spot start. He can spot start. Workhorse for the rest of the season, probably not.
Jaylen Warren actually has about 15 pounds on Austin Eckler. Now, I don't know if Warren is as shredded as Eckler. Let's put it that way. And Eckler, at least as far as we've seen, is the superior by a million miles right now pass catcher. So his usage, you can put him all over the formation and instead of just slamming him up the middle 10 times, you can throw it to him and maximize his talent.
Look, Kenneth Walker is 5'9", 211. There's not a lot of difference there between the two of them size-wise.
Yeah, so I guess he does. I guess he can handle 15 to 20.
Yeah, he can. Will he? Probably not. Can he?
Will he?
Yes.
I don't know. Could he? I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
And Rojo, interesting comment.
Yeah, that's
You're
been.
not wrong.
I guess we got a bunch of either asymptomatic or everybody's feeling.
Or they're just the illnesses is all they're reporting, because we have had a few. This guy's had an illness, but then he traveled with the team and he's good, or he drove while the team flew and he's there for the game. I know Jordan Poyer did that once, and so I think teams are just not reporting it as COVID because it's not necessary to.
Yeah.
And the recovery, they're just with with everything involved, whatever the NFL is doing. I think that it's a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
D. Linney, ETN Comeback Player of the Year, could be. There you go. That is one.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
That is one.
That's a good one. Yep, that's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know that they're testing for COVID anymore at this point, or I don't know if you. Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't think so, and I don't think so. Not like they were. Not like they were.
Yeah.
Any updates on Joe Mixon? I do not have any updates on Joe Mixon.
I think I saw from is it Dr. Chow on Twitter? He used to be the team doctor for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. That he's on track to return this week. I am pretty sure. Yesterday, Zach Taylor said yesterday he remains in concussion protocol. I think it's too early to rule him out. Generally speaking, every concussion is different, but generally speaking, 1 week absence, yes. 2 week absences are kind of rare. If I had to put money on it, if I had to guess, Mixon will be good to go by this weekend. I'm pretty sure Dr. Chow said that he'll be good to go for this week, or should be on track to return. Pretty sure. Let me see if I can find that. If you want to keep this moving.
Yeah, I mean, Fabian says Zach Wilson is a bitch and ain't cut out for leading a team. Based off of how he handled the press conferences after that game, I would have to agree.
He took a little bit of accountability after the fact.
You got to say that game is all on you. You have to, and if you don't,
the first time, not the second time after you get dragged through the media.
Nope.
So yeah, Joe Mixon, who missed the game yesterday, is trending in the direction of being able to play Sunday versus the Chiefs per source. This was an Adam Schefter tweet yesterday. And David Chow, who is a pro football doctor, said that makes sense.
There you go.
So I think as of right now, we can be on the optimistic side with Joe Mixon as far as his Week 13 availability.
And Devin, yeah, you probably feel pretty good about not giving up on DJ Moore for Pacheco. Not that Pacheco didn't have a good game. The narrative that we spelled out for him prior to his game last week, that he was going to be a volume back, and we're hoping that he gets a touchdown or 100 yards, 22 rushes for 60-something yards and a touchdown, and then I think he got a few receptions thrown his way. So he had a good game, but I mean, you got to feel good about having DJ Moore on your squad. And going after Zonovan pretty hard, spending 18 to 22 of your remaining fab. I'm cool with that.
Spend the 22. At this point, especially if you're in a battle for a playoff spot. If your playoff spot is not secure, there's 2 weeks left in the regular season. I mean, yes, in a perfect world, you want to have a little bit of fob ready to go for the fantasy playoffs. But at this point, I would spend the 22.
And I'm looking at a report. Michael Carter has ankle injury. Jets think that he could play this week. So,
all right, maybe do the 18.
But I mean, he's gonna have a role because
James Robinson was the healthy scratch.
He's gonna have a role.
Yeah,
he just might be the new Michael Carter to Michael Carter's new Breece Hall role.
Right, Carter's now the 1A, and maybe it's Knight who's the 1B. And again, Robinson, I will say this. You might be able to spend like $5 on Ty Johnson if you really want, because I think Ty Johnson mixed in as well,
and
was
showed
getting
good
around
explosiveness.
25% of the snaps,
and showed good explosiveness when he was out there.
That might be the swerve. I would put waiver claims in for both. I would maybe if Carter's expected to play, maybe do a little bit more like 12 to 15 on Knight, and then maybe throw 2 or 3, probably 2 on Ty Johnson.
Yeah, 5 for 62 and a touchdown.
Yeah, actually that might be the swerve. Throw 3 or 4, maybe it's $3 or $4 for good measure on Ty Johnson.
Yep.
Who has been the guy that they put in on third downs as well
for 2 years, and did some work with Mike White last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ty Johnson might actually be the under the radar grab.
No, I agree with that. And Rojo Fish, under the weather. There you go.
Right. Like somebody's got a stomach bug, right? Someone's got or they'll even say that, who knows how much truth there is to this, but it'll be like, oh, it's a non-COVID illness. Like, okay, I can only take that at face value, but all right, sounds good.
And there you go, D. Lenny. I had the Tyrion Davis Price timeline a little bit off. I guess I forgot that he got hurt.
He got hurt. I think like week 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Something around those. He had a game, played decently well, got a lot of work, then got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, the taxi squad is the perfect place for TDP in a dynasty league right now.
Yes, agreed.
Fabian,
he can chill.
Fabian, you have Daniel Jones, but should you start any of these guys you have on waivers this week? Goff, Pickett, or Goff or Pickett? Nah. Goff for Jacksonville. Let me see.
In the dome, I feel a little bit better about Goff in the dome. Daniel, for whatever it's worth, again, I don't know how much people want to play into or believe in these types of narratives, but Daniel Jones is a division game. It is a division game. Let me look up Daniel Jones's numbers against Washington.
Yeah, I'm looking up fantasy points against real quick. Jacksonville is giving up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, so you got to note that. But Washington is giving up the 14th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, and there is less than a 1-point difference between the two, so that's not a deciding factor for me.
Dating back, so Daniel Jones has played, again, take this with a grain of salt or however much you want to buy into narratives and history and all that. In 5 career games against Washington, Daniel Jones has a 5-touchdown game. This was, I think, his rookie year back in 2019. In the other 4 games, he has thrown for 1 touchdown in each of those games. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. Every year is a different year, but it is a division game. And outside of one blow-up matchup 3 years ago, Daniel Jones has been kind of pedestrian against Washington. So, yeah, I might go to Goff in the dome.
Yeah, I think you would like Goff's weapons more.
Yeah. Now, Daniel Jones of these 3 is the biggest threat to run.
And that's kind of where I go
defensive
edge.
Line.
That's kind of where I go edge Daniel Jones, because Mariota ran a decent amount.
Yeah.
He had a good game on the ground last week. 6 for 49.
174 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 6 for 49 on the ground.
Good enough to make him the QB 19 despite a bad passing day.
Sure. In the rain, bad weather.
I think I go Daniel Jones.
You just stick with him?
Yeah.
Tentatively interested in Goff. Although, Pickett might have the best matchup of these 3.
Yeah, but I'm not trusting Pickett. He barely throws over 200 yards and doesn't have a rushing floor.
His numbers would have looked a little bit better had Deontay caught that touchdown. But, yeah.
But, Goff has slowed down a little bit. He's obviously hurt by not having the weapons that he had out there earlier in the year. So, I think I'd just go Daniel Jones.
Yeah, all right. If you're not scared off or worried about history, then Dimes. But if you are, then pivot to Goff.
And thoughts on Jameson Williams? The coach came out and said that it was not going to happen this week, and he'd be very surprised if it happened next week too.
Did he say that?
Yes.
I know he said about he's not coming back week 13, but yeah, if he's already ruled out for week 14, then at this
he's
point
not ruled out, but he did say it was unlikely.
Long shot. He is a dynasty stash that can't possibly be relied on in the fantasy playoffs, even in the deepest leagues.
Yeah. I can't trust him in the playoffs in his first game in the NFL.
He's a play for 2023.
Yeah. Zachary Hugh, Jamal Williams, or Rachaad White this week, PPR and rest of season?
In full PPR, if there's no Leonard Fournette, then Rachaad White. But if Fournette is back and off the injury report, then I'd probably stick with Jamal. At home, nothing scary about the matchup, the touchdown leader on the season. Although Jamal can catch the ball as well. White looked good. Caught like 9 balls on Sunday.
Yeah, that short to intermediate passing game with Brady.
That Steve
popped off. Godwin had a game. Yeah.
Yep, he's gonna thrive there.
Yep. So that's what it depends on is Leonard Fournette's ability to play next week.
If Fournette is healthy, then Jamal. But if Fournette is if we get an update tomorrow, Leonard Fournette's still not practicing, Rachaad White.
Now, as far as rest of season, I gotta give the edge to Jamal Williams.
Yeah, because we expect Fournette. Fournette's not dealing with a season-ending injury, at least as far as we know. So yes,
Williams just
agreed.
keeps scoring touchdowns.
He feels like a layup in your lineup, especially when they're at home.
Yep. And to Delaney's point, softer rest of season schedule. If both of them are playing, averages, safer option.
Yeah. and it's an easier matchup for Jamal Williams this week.
Yep.
Going against Jacksonville, who might be coming into that game in a little bit of a letdown after they came back for a big-time, emotional, stunning win against the Ravens. Nicely done by Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
Yeah.
That was his first like I belong moment, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a really good game last week, and I was kind of off. Yep. I think we did we say we recommended people go elsewhere last week than Trevor Lawrence, but
yeah,
I think you can trust him moving forward.
Gonna be in the dome this week.
And Mo Diesel, start one must win for the playoffs. Mike Evans, man, Sutton is just such a floor play. I cannot.
Wasn't he okay? Didn't he salvage his day this past with some?
He had 6 for 70, I think.
I mean, it's
not a
terrible.
bad day, but I mean, if you're okay with that, I know what Mike Evans' track record is playing against Lattimore. But Mike Evans definitely has more of just upside. He just does.
If Lattimore plays, I might actually go Sutton.
I won't.
If Lattimore is out, so honestly, Mo Diesel, just keep your ear to the ground this week on Marshawn Lattimore practice reports. If he's out, Mike Evans. If he's in, Mike Evans has a non-zero chance of losing his cool.
You really think he's going to do that 2 outings in a row against this squad?
I'll do this game with Mike Evans. What are his recent numbers against the Saints? Career stats against New Orleans. Help me out, StatMuse. What do we got here? 5 touchdowns in 16 career games. 4 for 61 in that game that he got ejected. 1 for 14 last year. 4 for 48. Did get a touchdown. 6 for 64. I'm looking at targets. 1 for 14. 2 for 48 and a touchdown. 4 for 64. 1 for 2 yards and a touchdown. 4 for 69. Really Mike Evans against the Saints might be worse than Cortland Sutton this year. Like, Mike Evans' career versus the Saints might be a lower floor than Cortland Sutton this year. Sutton.
I mean, no. I mean, you look in 2021 Week 8 against New Orleans, 12 PPR fantasy, 12.8 PPR fantasy points. That's what Sutton has been giving you. The other game that they played that year, he got injured and went out after playing 23 snaps.
Last year?
In 2021, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, okay, fine.
So, I mean, there are...
Context
yes,
is key, for sure.
The matchups don't look glowing. They're not glowing
Those
matchups.
Numbers are bad. It's highly volatile. If Lattimore's out, I will go Mike Evans. But if Lattimore is in, I do not like this history he has against the Saints. He has put up probably, if I had to guess, for the most part, outside of a couple of games, some of the most pedestrian numbers of his career.
Yes.
And there's enough of a track record here that we cannot ignore it.
Yeah.
Mo Diesel, I'm keeping an eye on those.
I really
Lattimore.
don't want to play Sutton, but
I don't want to play. Based on this, I don't want to play Mike Evans if Lattimore is in.
Fair.
That's how much of a kryptonite he's kind of been for Mike Evans.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at all the numbers together like that.
Yeah. So Mo Diesel, keep an eye on Marshawn Lattimore. If he's not practicing, then Mike Evans. But if he is, no, Sutton.
What's Judy's status? Is he still out? Out.
He had actually,
because that factors in. That definitely factors in for me too. And I mean, if you look over the last, really the last season outside of a nice 3-game stretch in the beginning of the year. Sutton has been giving you either 6 points or 10 points or 12 points. So it's basically exactly what Mike Evans has been giving you against Lattimore. Not much of a difference over the last year between what Sutton gives you week in, week out, and what historically Evans has done against Lattimore.
Yeah. If Judy plays, then Mike Evans, even if Lattimore is in. If Judy is out and Lattimore is out, Sutton.
Yeah. I guess
if
that's
Judy's,
the way to go.
Yeah. If Lattimore is out, Mike Evans no matter what. If Lattimore is out and Judy is in, or if no matter what, if Lattimore is out, Evans. If Lattimore is in and Judy is out, Sutton. If Lattimore and Judy are both in, Evans.
All right. Cool with that.
That is a hell of a
caveat.
Puzzle.
Caveats on caveats.
Sort through. Yeah, layers on layers, Mo Diesel.
Fabian, is Jamal Williams a must start? I mean, pretty much. He's been performing like an RB1.
Yeah.
I think he is.
He's the touchdown leader on the year. There's no reason to believe that won't continue with the way the Lions are capable of moving the ball, especially at home.
RB6 in standard, RB12 in PPR. Yeah, you keep rolling him out.
Yeah, you keep firing him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep firing him up.
And you're a Waller owner, so rest of season, Jelani Woods or Moreau, who I own, or Kmet.
Just
hang with
rocking
Moreau.
Moreau.
3 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown last week.
Right. It's exactly what you want from this situation that you find yourself in. That's exactly what you want.
And I love that Jelani Woods had a good game last week, but there's no guarantee he's going to follow that up with a good outing next week. And I think Moreau has the role to where he can be counted on every time Darren Waller is not playing.
Yep.
And since you have Waller, might as well just roll with his 1-for-1 replacement in a decent offense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want Kmet with whoever's throwing. Was it Nathan Peterman or Trevor Siemian? Because there was a report that Trevor Siemian got hurt last game, or hurt before, and then he ended up playing.
It was Siemian ended up playing. He gutted it out.
Yeah. All right. Iron, in a dynasty league, you have Goddard on IR, and your other tight ends are Jelani, Dulcich, and Everett. Would you drop Everett to pick up Conklin? No, I'm not dropping Everett in a dynasty league.
Yeah, not
Stick
yet.
with Everett. He didn't have the week he wanted last week, or really the past couple of weeks, but I'm sticking with Everett. I believe in the talent, believe in that offense.
Yeah.
Yep. Richie Rich, Knight, Snell, Mason, Hasty are your top running backs. Who would you guys go with? Knight.
Then Mason, then Snell, then Hasty.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. Knight because he potentially stole James Robinson's job. Mason because the 49ers running backs are all banged up. Snell is third, pending Najee and Jalen Warren's health. Hasty is a distant fourth because we know ETN is healthy.
And Jay Cross Country, start 2 wide
Jay?
receivers. Flex 1 in PPR. Chase, Waddle, CD, Pierce, Palmer, Watson, Murray, and Brian Robinson. You're starting Chase.
Those first 3 names.
Yeah.
Chase, Waddle, CD.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it.
And how do you Dameon Pierce owners feel right now?
Like you can't use him.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like you can't use him. I said, look, if you had him in Dynasty, I said during the preseason, trade him for a 23 first. And he looked like he was gonna prove me wrong for the first 10 weeks of the season. But holy hell, has it been pulling teeth recently. This is a bad Texans team. He doesn't have the draft capital to suggest that they won't go back to the well and add to their running back room eventually.
Was my worry. I think that they're gonna draft another running back next year, and he's gonna be Michael Carter.
Yeah.
That was my worry.
He looks like a good player, but you know how this works. It's a cutthroat industry, especially as it pertains to the running back position. teams will go right back to the well the very next year when you least expect it.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't feel very good.
Yeah, and a lot of those spike weeks, if you really go back and look, they were driven off of volume. Even though he was decently efficient in some of those games, he was a volume-based running back on a bad team.
Hey, Riley, you didn't have to do that, man.
Hey, Riley, much appreciated, man.
I appreciate the sentiment. Why not? But hey, you didn't have to do that, man. Appreciate it. He's got a question right above. We can get to that. 2 flex league. That's how it should be. Ramondre, Saquon, Pollard, Chase, Debo, Watson, Gabe Davis. Who would I sit? Saquon, you have to start Saquon.
And you're starting Ramondre with no Damian Harris because he's out.
And you're starting Chase. I'm sitting Gabe Davis. I don't want to sit Christian Watson, but I have to when I have the options like this. I don't know that Debo's not healthy, so I don't have a problem sitting him when I have options like this to pivot to. What did Debo finish with against the Saints?
Our wide receiver 64, 4.3 standard points, 7.3 PPR points. Not
3
great.
Catches, 43 yards. I know
7
he picked
targets.
up an injury. He picked up an injury during the game, but he avoided a scare. I mean, if Debo's on the injury report, man, I'm
not playing him. He's a name who has one wide receiver 1 week to his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got to course correct. So I'm playing Barkley. I'm playing Ramondre. I'm playing Chase.
And then I guess Pollard would be 4th.
I think I'd Pollard's in there ahead of Debo. Because at least Pollard is giving you a ceiling this year. Debo really hasn't.
It wasn't the case last week, but that's a well that you can go back to. Who do the Cowboys get? Are they Sunday night this week against? I think they're Sunday night against the Colts.
Colts, yep.
At
good
home.
Matchup.
Yeah. I'll go back to that well. So Riley, in order: Saquon, Ramondre, Chase, like those 3. I would put Pollard 4th. I would put, I guess, out of respect of Debo, I still would put him ahead of Christian Watson. But then I put Watson over Gabe. Gabe is boom or bust now because of Josh Allen's elbow. And I know Allen himself is still putting up huge fantasy numbers, but Gabe is like very up and down.
No, I think it's clear that he is a wide receiver 3 in an offense who can go off a couple of times a year. Mm-hmm. But he is not a number 2 wide receiver in the league. He's just not. And if he is, you need a real good number 3.
Yeah.
Because he can.
I think he can be a 2. It's just, Allen's not 100%.
He can be a 2, but I mean, if you really need to win in this league, then you need to draft somebody to make him your number 3. Like the Bengals drafted somebody to push Tyler Boyd into their number 3 wide receiver spot. I'm not saying you draft a wide receiver 1 like Chase, but I think they drafted a wide receiver next year to put Gabe in his proper place moving forward. But yeah, I agree with that ranking. And thank you very much, Riley. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Riley.
You didn't need to do that, man.
Appreciate it, man.
And did we get to Jay Cross Country's question? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, Chase, Waddle, CD.
Fabian, as a Kyler Murray owner, should I be worried that he won't be making the playoffs this year, so his production might fall off as he don't care? Maybe some of the rushing, but I really don't know. I really don't think so.
I think Kyler's a competitor. He did get paid, so obviously he's not playing for a contract. But he's gonna. There's got to be incentives in his contract where he gets a little bit more money if he hits certain benchmarks. I don't know that. Don't quote me on that. But a lot of contracts these days have built-in clauses where you get performance-based incentives. Kyler's going to want to go out there and continue to prove that he's deserving of the contract and also deserving of the starting spot. Remember, it doesn't take much and Kyler's got a longer rope than most as a former number 1 overall pick. It doesn't take much for teams to start considering other options if a player shows that he's not meant, whether it's physical lack of ability or mentally showing that you're not, your heart's not in it or anything like that. And I'm not I'm not accusing Kyler Murray of anything or any of that, but you can't just rest on your laurels.
No, and I don't think he's going to do that. And even if he did take a little bit of the pressure off of the pedal, what is he? A high, low end QB1 instead of a high end QB1. Sure. I mean, and you look at his matchups over the next few weeks. Yes, New England is a tougher draw in week 14 because they're just a good defense year in year out. Shout out to Belichick. But at Denver, and then Tampa Bay, and then Atlanta for the championship. So those are good matchups for Kyler Murray in the playoffs.
Players also just want to put up stats too.
Yeah, not Deshaun Watson. DeAndre Hopkins is trying to get into the Hall of Fame.
Right. Players just want to put numbers up.
Right.
They care about their numbers.
Right.
So there are other ways for players to get motivated if it's not the record. Yeah.
Yep. No, I'm not worried. Not worried, Fabian.
Nah.
And Jay cross country, doesn't change much for me, even though it's win now. We assume every game is win now at this point.
You start those horses that you named at the top. Those top 3 guys. And
D-Lenny, Mike White, he did that last year too. Didn't he have the 3 touchdown game last year as well? When he came, there was some Mike White hype last year. People were like, "Whoa, what? This guy came out of nowhere." I don't know if it was a 3 touchdown game, but let me look. Yeah, 3 touchdown game against Cincinnati, week 8.
There you go.
He's done it twice.
That was the team that went to the Super Bowl.
Done it twice. Something Wilson hasn't ever done once. There you go.
Might not ever do.
And I don't care about Bryan Edwards on the Chiefs.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah. It's
sailed.
Means about as much to me as who is that wide receiver? Justin Ross on the Chiefs. Means about as much to me as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Trev, what's going on, man?
What's up, Big Trev?
Need Thielen or Zay? Would Zay and T-Law be a stack this week?
Or you would have that stack if you went with Zay.
True.
Where the Vikings are at
Thielen
home.
had a good game last week. 6 receptions, 90 yards and a touchdown. Was that?
I like banking on a guy like Thielen at home.
Yeah,
I've said that before. I think do they play the Jets? They do. So it's a tough. Actually, that's a pretty bad matchup by the numbers.
10 targets, 9 receptions, 61 yards and a TD. He hasn't had many of those weeks this year, but yeah. Justin Jefferson got to deal with Sauce Gardner.
Right. Jefferson's going to see Sauce. But it's a bad matchup overall by the numbers. Just the Jets have been pretty stingy against opposing wide receivers. That being said, the Vikings aren't just any team. They are 9-2 or 9-1, or what are they? 9-2, 9-1, 10-1, 9-2. Right. I mean, they're rolling. They're one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, they're 9-2.
At home, you kind of have to throw those numbers out the window. Thielen's a vet. I do think I would go back to the well with him. And keep in mind, does Zay Jones maybe lose 2 or 3 targets with a healthy ETN back in the fold? Thielen, I tentatively big. I gotta say Thielen. I gotta give the edge to the vet who's been there, done that, been a wide receiver 1 before. I gotta give him that respect at home. And then I'm going with Rachaad White if Lenny is out over Kamara. I am. If I have to make a call on one of those two, like I can't play both, and Fournette is out. Yeah, I agree with your line of thinking there. I would play Rachaad White over Kamara. That Saints offense right now. Sorry, Rojo. Like They stink, and I have even less confidence in them when they're on the road outside of the dome. Kamara had 4 points against Tampa Bay on the road last year. Now, that was with Taysom Hill starting as the quarterback, but still, 4 points. I remember this because it was during the fantasy playoffs.
And I'm looking, man, Richie Rich, in terms of your defenses, normally the Eagles' defense is an auto start, and I'm close to saying just start them again, but Seattle's playing the Rams. The Rams with Bryce Perkins are a matchup to target, and the Bucs are playing, again, New Orleans.
Saints. They stink.
Kind of a matchup to target. So
Browns are playing Houston. That's a matchup to target.
I kind of think you target, I think you target Seattle. If it Bryce Perkins was bad, 2 interceptions. He ran a little bit, but 100 yards, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. They just lost Allen Robinson for the year now. It's bad.
The Eagles have been pedestrian recently as well, on as far as fantasy outputs on
and
defense.
Just lost Gardner Johnson, so that factors in a little bit. Yeah, I think I would go Seahawks.
I would go Cleveland just because look what happened to Houston. Houston is Kyle Allen. Sorry, no disrespect. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Kyle Allen has no business.
Yeah, but neither did Davis Mills. I don't know if there's that much of a difference between a Davis Mills Houston team and a Kyle Allen Houston team. But by the numbers, the Rams are giving up the most points against to fantasy quarterbacks, and that was accounting for 10, 12 games of Matt Stafford in there. And now it's Bryce Perkins. You got to go the Seahawks, dude. To me, I think you got to go the Seahawks. I know the other matchups are good, but the number one opponent you want for an opposing defense, and they're on their 3rd string quarterback, and they just keep losing weapons or giving them away, Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
And Tyler Higbee was goose egg last week. I'm going Seahawks. I'm going Seahawks. I know they're not traditionally a defense that you are seeking out to play, but
they are on the road.
Best matchup in the league.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I would swerve off Philly, though. I would. Yes. They've been pedestrian recently.
Yep. And where is Seattle? I think Seattle's having a better year on defense than I really remember them having in really recent memory.
I mean, they didn't have a great week last week. They gave up 40 points to the Raiders, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Prior to that was their bye week. That was against Tampa. They got Brady twice on interceptions. That was in Munich. But the week before that on the road in Arizona, 15 points allowed, 5 sacks. That'll get it done. A fumble recovery. I mean,
no, they're right up there in terms of defense with Tennessee and Minnesota and Tampa Bay, really. I'm cool with them.
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, all right.
And then go with the Eagles the rest of the year.
They need CJ back, but yeah.
And D. Linney helping out. Love to see it. Elout, good to see you.
What's up, Elout?
You stuck on what you should do with Swift. You got a touchdown last week. Got Mixon and Perine as RB1. Swift at RB2. Can also play White. Hey, if you can play White instead of Swift if there's no Leonard Fournette. If there is Leonard Fournette, think you got to go back to Swift.
Then I would play Swift.
You have to be happy with the fact that at least he scored a touchdown last week and seemed somewhat involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Mixon, 1, assuming he's back. White if Fournette is out. Swift if Fournette is back in.
Yep. And for your flex, do you pick up Watson, DPJ, or Pickens? Watson, bro. Watson.
I mean, he's on fire right now.
And Marquise Brown is in the mix next week. What would you do then? Let's worry about next week. next week.
Right
now, for the flex, considering you can't rely on Marquise Brown because they're on a bye, Watson coming off of 6 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
I mean, I'm probably going back to Hollywood, but yeah, let's let Watson play against the Bears before we make that call.
Yeah. Yep.
But Watson over those 2 other guys. Pickens has a great matchup, and he's in the dome. You can't really ignore what Watson has done recently.
Nope, not anymore.
And if he's got Rodgers back, obviously, Rodgers does look like a shell of himself, but as of right now, I still prefer a Rodgers pass catcher to a Kenny Pickett pass catcher in a vacuum.
Yep. And D-Lenny with some more advice. Love to see it. Thanks for always being active in the chat there, D-Lenny. TX 416. Which 2 do I play out of Swift, Pollard, Jeff Wilson, Gus Bus? The middle 2. Pollard and Jeff Wilson.
Well, what's the status on Mostert, if there is any? It is a revenge game for Jeff Wilson going back to San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't really like. I don't know what's going on with Raheem Mostert, but my answer is the same.
I do kind of think I think you have to find a way to play Swift. I would tentatively go Swift and Pollard. It's the revenge game narrative for Jeff Wilson, which I love, but San Francisco is the worst matchup by the numbers for opposing running backs. Literally, they are like dead last, 32nd out of 32. That gives me some pause. And Swift at least is at home in a much juicier matchup, and he's the more talented player.
But since week 9, he hasn't played more than 34% of snaps.
I know.
Yes, he scored a touchdown last week. He's still injured, still banged up, playing basically 1/3 of the snaps. Moving forward, I can't. Pollard's playing 50% of snaps. Jeff Wilson's playing 50 to 60. I got to put those guys ahead of him in good offenses in their own right. Got to. I love Swift, the talent. This ain't his year. So I think we're split there, I guess, because I'm on the Pollard, Jeff Wilson train, and Nick wants to find a way to play Swift.
I want to play Swift. If Mostert is out, then fine for Jeff Wilson. But if Mostert is back, I might opt for Swift. Pollard, I agree, is just, we got to roll. Pollard might get you 5 points, but he might get you 25 too.
Over the last 2 weeks, Jeff Wilson 61% of snaps, and last week against Houston, to your point, like they didn't put him back in because they pulled all the starters.
Right. I just want to call if Mostert is back, then I think I prefer Swift. But if Mostert is out again or limited, then sure, Wilson.
And Rojo Fish with Jonathan Abram, he was a wrecking ball out there at safety, I believe. But I think at lots of times his willingness to lower the hammer, right?
Did it crush his health?
It impacted his health. And it took him out of position lots of times.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened with him on the Raiders there.
Yeah.
But of course we don't know the full story, so only speculation. Jake Goodman, you're 6-6, but you're in a really bad division, and you should get a bye week looking at your upcoming schedule.
How about that? All right.
There's one insane team in my league that is going to be hard to beat. But you have Debo and Dalvin. All right. What should you get for them?
What do you need? Do you have? Yeah, package them both for an upgrade at running back if you need, or a receiver if you need a receiver.
Yeah,
like you can offer them both at this point. I mean, Debo's underperforming. I actually don't remember what Dalvin did against the Patriots. I feel like it was kind of, wasn't it kind of meh?
It was meh. The last 2 weeks for him have been meh.
Yeah,
but,
pretty brutal matchups by the numbers, but it does.
He's still a top 12 running back.
Up. Yeah, Dalvin's schedule softens up for the fantasy playoffs. Yeah, you might as well hold. You could try to dangle Debo on name recognition and see if you can get a more viable wide receiver.
Is there anybody on your bench you can let go of? Can you trade Debo and somebody on your bench for Ayuk and somebody else on somebody else's bench and just try to get the better piece this year versus the better piece and based on preseason rankings? I don't know. Yeah. See if you can do something like that.
Yep.
Casey Royals, you're very welcome if you're still here. Thanks for chilling.
Yeah, thanks for coming to hang out. And about the Sutton Evans, it's wild. But Lattimore is that type of kryptonite for Mike Evans. I do not like that situation.
I hadn't seen the splits, so it is telling. But I do have to see if the Judy situation shakes itself out first.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you again, Riley.
Yep, appreciate it.
And Rico, we already kind of gave our thoughts on Debo. Should I start Pickens over him at the flex? I mean,
don't know if I can go that far, but if Debo's on the injury report, then sure. If Debo's practicing in full on Wednesday and full on Thursday and he's feeling great, then I think I got to play Debo. But if he's limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, maybe he gets a bunch of limited sessions in this week and he gets slapped with a questionable tag going into the game, I might want to roll with Pickens.
So I kind of think this is situational. It depends on what your matchup looks like for your team. Yeah. Are you down bad and need a ton of points? Then throw Debo in there because he can give you a wide receiver 2 week like he did 2 weeks ago, or wide receiver 6 week like he did 2 weeks ago. But Pickens has been the more consistent wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Debo can give you spot wide receiver. He's got one wide receiver 1 week this year, but he can get there. So if you're not down bad and need a huge play, then I think Pickens is safer. Safer floor at least. Debo just has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
And D. Linney, good to know about Pierce, but it doesn't matter if Cleveland goes up by 2 touchdowns in the first half and Pierce gets taken out of the game plan altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Houston's game plan has to be Dameon Pierce, right? Because there's not much else that they can do, not with the quarterback situation that they have. I mean, yeah, the wide receivers are they're still giving you floor plays. Like Brandon Cooks, I think gave you 4 for 50 or 60 or something. So it's not total goose eggs. It's not great, but it's not total goose eggs. Yeah, the one thing in Pierce's favor is the matchup is spectacular. What do I say every single week about Cleveland's defense? They stink.
And it's at home for Pierce.
Yeah, it's at home. So he's a little more viable. But yeah, if it's between him and ETN and Mixon and I'm just naming names, then I'm sitting Pierce. If it's Pierce or the Steelers running backs without Najee, then sure, Pierce. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Lopez, good to see you. What's going on, man?
What's up, Mike? What's happening, man?
The objective, you too. Who's the better running back stash for the dynasty future, Knight, Mason, or Hasty?
Not Knight because Brees is still in the door.
I mean, it's tough to say Mason. It's tough to say Mason, but I guess Mason.
By default, Mason. Just McCaffrey's older. He'll be 27 next year. That doesn't mean that Mason will ever be viable as anything more than a stash. And again, Mason by default because the starters in front of him are the oldest. Knight has Brees, Hasty has ETN. So Mason by default.
Yep. And yeah, D. Lenny,
Yeah, Pickens
Pickens
is approaching that type of territory where it's like, do
Yeah.
I actually start him over Debo freaking Samuel? But yeah, we're here.
And to me, it really it's a situational thing. There are situations in which I
Yeah.
would, even if Debo is healthy,
Yep.
depending on the team I'm facing and depending on my team this week.
Yep.
And Cal, I think I would go
up, Cal?
Njoku, man.
With Watson coming back.
Yeah,
Freiermuth is putting up some pretty good numbers
Njoku
recently.
had a touchdown last week.
Yeah, a crazy catch at the end of the game. Freiermuth had 3 for 39 on 4 targets. He gets a top 10 matchup by the numbers against the Falcons this week. Yeah, Njoku with Watson coming back. Again,
At
but
Houston, revenge game, coming off a 7-target, 1-touchdown game, albeit with a different QB, but
is it a revenge? Well, it's a revenge game for Watson.
yeah, that's yeah.
That's okay. I don't know that necessarily
It doesn't
applies to Njoku.
I mean, if your
It
quarterback
trickles
has an arm, got to throw it.
Last
If Deshaun Watson, yes, if Deshaun Watson is gonna have a good revenge game, I think David Njoku is gonna be a beneficiary of it. That's why I threw that out there.
Yeah. And if he's rusty, he might be, take the easy throws, the short intermediate throws.
Yeah.
Njoku's the ceiling play. Freiermuth is the floor play. I think in this scenario, it's like, yeah, I want to roll the dice on Njoku.
And D. Linney, the problem with naming those guys is they might be on people's practice squads in Dynasty. They were just draft picks this season, whereas, Knight was a UDFA, Mason UDFA, Hastie's been in the league for a few years. Yeah, Jerome Ford, Ty Chandler, probably not on people's way. Even Hassan Haskins.
Yeah, they're all on waivers.
Yeah.
Or they're all
on teams. On teams.
On rosters or practice squads.
And Jay Cross Country, Joe Burrow, because Justin Fields ain't playing.
Do we know that?
I mean, right now, and I think that's pretty.
I'm operating like, even if he's healthy, I have to play Burrow.
Then really, the smart thing for the Bears to do would be to not throw Justin Fields out there.
Right. Like I think the Bears are currently in line for the 2nd overall pick in the draft. They are. I mean, at this point,
shut them down.
You have a valid excuse to shut your franchise quarterback down and secure a top 3 pick in the draft. I think you probably want to do that.
Yeah.
Because yes, you're not going to draft CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, but if if Stroud is the consensus number 1 pick and Bryce Young ends up being one of the other guys, Chicago can trade that pick for a mother load.
Yep. I think you just roll with Burrow, especially getting Chase back.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes him even more viable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Griff, let us know the quarterbacks that are on the wire, and then we can help you choose from the ones that are on your specific wire. Naming
Griff,
them
let us
if
know.
they're not available, and we don't know the league format, 1 QB, 2 QB, whatever, probably 1 QB. But
I assume it's 1 QB.
Let us know.
If it's Trevor Lawrence, he's enticing.
Throw who's out there in the chat, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, throw a few names in there, and we'll try to help you out.
And Elout, you are very welcome. Thanks for chilling.
Elout. Appreciate it.
Jay, you're not wrong.
Yeah, right. But even if they weren't, I'm going Burrow here.
Yeah.
I'm going Burrow.
And yeah, the objective, he was just trying to help out. But yeah, with those guys being rookies, really, I doubt they're on the wire in any dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I mean, roster sizes are different based on the league.
Yeah,
I think we actually play with some bigger rosters compared to other dynasty leagues, but you never know.
No, I mean what's the one that we're in that we the one that we co-run is shorter rosters too.
They are thinner. They're smaller rosters. I think we maybe have like 20 roster spots instead of 30 or 25 or whatever. Yeah, so it's a little thinner, a little smaller. So there are some interesting names on the wire in that league, but then it's I can't pick them up because the guys I have are more viable.
And Fabian, since Tyler Boyd is going back to the number 3 wide receiver in this offense with Chase coming back, I think you start ETN over Boyd.
Yes.
If ETN's playing, you play him.
I think especially because of the news this week, you go back to ETN, because Doug Peterson confirmed that he was cleared to return. They did what they felt was the right thing by the player and held him out, which I can kind of respect that. You don't like to hear it as a guy who, if you started ETN, you don't like to hear that, but you know, they gotta protect the player if they feel like they need to.
Yep.
And it was a win-win scenario for them because they literally got the win. So no, I think the fact that was cleared to return is encouraging to go back to the well with ETN, to go fire him up again this week.
And really, man, in terms of Debo or Christian Watson or Jamal Williams, is it crazy that Debo might be the third option there for who to start this week?
He might be.
It's Jamal Williams for me. Then it's Christian Watson, coming off of 6 touchdowns in the last 3 games with 2 different QBs, so he's insulated there a little bit as well over Debo, who has 1 spike week over the last 12.
Yeah, it's Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
It's Jamal Williams. John called it out earlier. Regardless of format, he's an RB1 this year.
Yeah.
He's a little more of he's the RB12 in PPR. What is he in half PPR? Maybe like the RB
and he's the RB6 in standard, RB12 in PPR, and probably the RB
so he might
10.
Be like 9 or 10 in half PPR.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an RB1.
Yeah.
At home against Jacksonville in the Dome.
With strong touchdown upside, which is what you like.
Even if DeAndre Swift is healthy and off the injury report, it's Jamal
isn't.
Williams, which he's not. Yeah.
Yep. And
Jamal
Rico,
Williams,
I mean, if there's no Fournette, Rashad White, and if there is Fournette, like
still Rashad White. No, I think you can go back to Pierce again, because this matchup is beautiful.
It is, and that is his only saving grace. If it wasn't for the matchup, I'd probably say Rashad White, even if Leonard Fournette was playing.
Let's get some practice reports in, Rico, Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll go from there. But if tentatively, this is not saying this is my final answer, but tentatively, if Fournette is back, Pierce. If he's not, wheels back up on Rashad White.
And Nick, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence, and there he is, Trevor Lawrence right there. So
it's a great matchup by the numbers against the Lions in the Dome.
Yeah,
Deshaun is tempting.
No, you need somebody from the wire to replace Kyler, and it's 1 week. And we just said earlier in the stream that we didn't want Deshaun Watson for week 1. We want to see how he performs and then address that moving forward. I think I go Trevor Lawrence, coming off of his best game as a pro.
Right. Now he's got a little bit of momentum. He's probably feeling a little bit better about himself. Got a huge comeback win against a good team. Mike White is enticing. He's very interesting, and it is a good matchup by the numbers. The Vikings are actually, believe it or not, a top 10 matchup for opposing quarterbacks. But I think I need to see it for a second week in a row from Mike White before I slam the hammer on Mike White's stream of the rest of the season.
Detroit is giving up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks by 3 points over the second option. I'm going T-Law.
Yeah, go Lawrence, Griff. You might. Yeah, let's play the matchup. Let's play with Lawrence is definitely talented enough. Presumably gets ETN back this week, who will catch a ton of dump offs, as long as he's healthy. Yeah, let's go with T-Law.
And Fabian, I really don't think ETN is going to get any bad news, considering the report that came out that apparently Peterson said after the game that he could have gone back in and Peterson held him out just to be safe, but he was cleared by the medical staff to go back into that game. So I don't think you should be concerned about the sprained foot. It looks like ETN is fine.
We'll keep an eye on it, of course. Let's keep an eye on practice reports. I wouldn't get too concerned or worried if maybe ETN doesn't practice tomorrow, potential rest day, right? And then if he returns to practice Thursday, I'll feel just fine about that. If he misses practice Thursday, like Wednesday and Thursday, yeah, then you raise an alarm. But I'm operating right now like I can rely on ETN for week 13.
And then at the other part of your question, regardless, you're playing ETN.
Yeah, if he gets bad news, then
In terms of Daniel Jones or Jared Goff, if you have St. Brown and Jamal Williams, then go Jared Goff.
Stack it up.
Yeah.
Stack it up. Yes, I would grab Goff if you need a quarterback this week and you have Lions. And then to that point, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily want Chark as well and go in full Lions. Who do the Bengals get this week? Oh, the Chiefs. Boyd is viable. That could be a shootout. Even if Chase is coming back. Well, Chase is expected to come back. If you don't want to go full Lions, which I'm totally fine with, you can go Boyd over Chark. Temper expectations with Chase back, but against the Chiefs, that game might have 80 points scored in it.
Yeah.
70 points scored in it. That might be a little bit more realistic. Yeah.
But all right, the next question, group of wide receivers, pick 2. I mean, I'm going Ayuk, and then
Ayuk was quiet this past week.
Yeah, but I think the offense was quiet. I think he still led the team in receiving yards.
Yeah, he had 8 targets, 5 catches, 65 yards.
So that's fine. If the whole offense was quiet and he was still the best receiving weapon on the team, I'm continuing to go back to him.
Going up against Miami, who obviously on the other side has Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Shootout potential. Ayuk.
And then McLaurin versus the Giants and Pittman versus Dallas. I think does Pittman v. Dallas? Opposing wide receivers.
It is a better matchup for Pittman slightly. And
Giants give up very few points to opposing wide receivers relative to the rest of the league. 4th worst. Yeah. Whereas the Cowboys are middle of the pack.
And then there's Watson down there. He does also have Christian Watson.
I'm still starting the other 2 over him, over Christian Watson.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Ayuk and Pittman.
Because, I mean, Ayuk has 2 touchdown upside, too. And, I mean, Pittman's just the target hog.
Right.
In a good matchup.
Yeah. And his floor is boosted with officially with Ryan back in there.
Yeah. Yep. Ayuk and Pittman. Yeah. But I really like the wide receivers you have to choose from, so good job.
Right. Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Now it is non-PPR.
Right.
So, considering it doesn't really matter that Pittman gets 11 targets,
he gets none of these guys strike me as like PPR like specific dudes. So,
but to that point, I mean,
I'm fine with Ayuk.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think I am too. It's just non-PPR. The supreme touchdown score the past few weeks is enticing.
Sure.
But yeah, the first 2.
Ayuk's been a pretty damn good touchdown scorer in his own right.
He was an auto start for me, so it was between Pittman, Ayuk, or Pittman, McLaurin, and Watson. But Ayuk was the auto start there, and CMC is good to go. It's good news.
It says knee irritation is the most recent update. I mean, yeah, we'll I don't know what irritation is. Again, yeah, the workload could be a concern. We'll see.
And Fabian, considering what Nick just said about Detroit playing KC, I gotta go Boyd over Drake London.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's as good as a matchup as possible for London. He's going against the Steelers. The Steelers give up tons of points to opposing wide receivers. The problem is the Falcons don't throw the ball.
Yep.
The Falcons are last in the league, I think, by like 5 percentage points as far as passing on first down. They just still
probably better at it than the Denver Broncos. But we are at the end of the chat here, you guys. Thanks everybody for chilling. Thanks for anybody who subbed.
Appreciate it. Thanks for we did qualify, so let's see what we can do against the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, but Yeah, go USA.
And thanks, Riley VIP, for the very generous super. You didn't need to do that, but we appreciate it. Again, we just got over 3,000 subs a few days ago, so that was real exciting for us. Did that on stream. But hey, if you guys want to join as members, first link in the description. We have a couple of tiers, but the 99-cent tier is the cheapest option, and 99 cents per month, and you get 8 extra streams a month. So something you might want to check into, especially now that it's crunch time and gearing up towards the fantasy playoffs. And then we got an evergreen link for the Discord and link 3. You could skip link 2 because for some reason, I don't know why, but the draft kit is still showing there even though we took it out. I think it's an issue with Streamlabs and where it pulls from and not YouTube. But
whatever.
And last question here, Tommy Talaga, Pacheco, Jeff Wilson, or Leonard Fournette? I mean, if Leonard Fournette is playing, we have to get news on that.
Yeah.
And it might not be a Pacheco week.
We also have to get news on Raheem Mostert as it pertains to Jeff Wilson. Like, if Lenny is out, that helps it. But if Lenny's out and Raheem Mostert is out, Pacheco. If Lenny's back in, you might have to go Lenny. If Raheem Mostert is out, I hate the matchup for Wilson, to be brutally honest. Yeah, there are a lot of injury reports, Tommy, that we got to get through.
Come back on either
call on this.
Come back at Saturday 6 p.m. EST or Sunday 10 a.m. EST for any of those streams, and we can answer your question with a little bit more of an informed analysis. But right now, there's too much. We're waiting on too much news right now.
And Joe had a question just above that. One flex running back, Patterson, White, Robinson, Edwards.
Non-PPR.
I mean, non-PPR. I guess Patterson.
Yeah.
If it's non-PPR, Patterson.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and if Fournette is still out, then Rashad's got a little bit more of an argument there. But again, non-PPR, it's like he's a little less appealing.
Yep.
Probably Patterson at home against the Steelers in the Dome. And yes, it's a revenge game for Jeff Wilson, but it's also and I love that narrative. I love the revenge game narrative, but it's the worst matchup for opposing running backs in the NFL. Like, the 49ers are that good against the run. And if Mostert is back, that makes him even less appealing, and it's also a revenge game for Mostert if he's back.
Yeah.
So lots of injury reports that we need to get through.
So let's wait on that and get back to us on either of the streams that we have over the weekend. But thanks everybody for chilling. It was great chilling with you tonight. Hopefully we answered your questions to your satisfaction. And Nick will be back here tomorrow with his Box Score Wednesdays. I'll be back on Thursday to get everybody up to watch my Bills play. And then we'll both be back on Saturday. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Hopefully we'll see you in between there in our individual member streams if you're a member. If not, good luck on Thursday, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace, y'all.